toppings and all kinds of stuff.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
as we prepare for this time together, join me in prayer. Oh, thank you, Almighty, merciful God, for the beauty of this afternoon and this very opportunity to see, to hear, to experience history, the life of Jesus, the glimpses of how the Bible can still speak to us today in dramatic and personal ways. We thank you for this opportunity, and everybody here, bless this food and our fellowship, our conversation, all to your glory. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Yes, Paul. Jerry.
Good afternoon and thanks for coming. First of all, anyone who feels more comfortable sitting down, you can just raise your hand or whatever, and my wonderful, beautiful assistant Paula here, we're going to find out what you want on your ice cream. We have homemade vanilla, Dutch chocolate, and strawberry. This is Bluebell ice cream. I think it's very, very good. Toppings, and we have cookies down there. They're oatmeal raisin cookies, and everybody will kind of pass some water that for you too. We have strawberries to go on it. We have caramel. We have really good chocolate sauce. We have homemade whipped topping, and we have cherries. Okay.
Excellent.
So anybody, like I said, and you can have as much as you want. We got 12 of these things. So
Oh my goodness.
if you want one of each, or if you want 3 scoops or just one, just let me know. But like I said, Paula will help you. I'm going to run the water around, then everybody gets some water.
So we could do it family style and just get a whole thing of ice cream and bring it to the table.
Ma'am?
Thank you, that looks delicious.
No idea.
Come on over, get some ice cream.
They've got vodka.
All right, you want to head over and join? Some ice cream? Oh, cookie? I'm just gonna get some coffee.
Let's go.
If you want them to serve you at the table.
I'm here to help today. I don't want to overstep on.
The water's delicious.
You know, I should be like immunity free, but I don't want to. I feel like I have to have this cloud over my head. You know, peanuts. Thank you. So he's kind of a nervous man, so for him to stay a little while was a big deal, but he's ready to go. So, are we doing it next week? Or was this the last Sunday of Lemonade on the Lawn? We're doing Barbara. Oh, really? So then we switched to hot chocolate? I worked 1 year at King's Dominion in the water park. And when it was the first year it opened up, and it was so cold that they started putting hot chocolate in the coolers for the lifeguards. The water was heated for the swimmers, but the air was so cold. I mean, it was just miserable, you know? I only liked her at King's Dominion 1 year, but I liked her probably about 13, 14 years. So I'm sure I will have some skin cancer spots and all that. I had to go off, but there was a young lady that was there for like a year or two. I can't remember her name, but she taught. I took lifeguarding under her actually. At least I think she. I don't remember her there all 4 years. 93.
Strawberries are cookies. Nice.
Very nice.
Strawberries. Okay. Strawberries and strawberries. And whipped cream. Oh, you can't have that. I was ignoring you on purpose.
Oh, thank you.
All right, sunshine.
Resting. You got water though.
Tom Dyer, who's graduated the same year.
But whenever you want something.
Really? Now that's me. That is, I didn't know that. I had Chris Sargent.
You said all vanilla answers.
Joanne, is everybody well? And
Another lady, and she was not at home with her.
no COVID.
I think she's waiting for her.
That's good. I think everybody's.
And she said, don't miss them.
I don't see the ones that are having problems. I don't see them very much. And I had this lady yesterday. No. Friday. I was like, I don't know the woman's last name or first name.
People are being serious.
No. I had
Francie worked last night from 11 o'clock to 7 a.m. and she's a dispatcher for 911 and she's working again tonight at 11, so she's asleep. And this is Rachel's last day off before being camp, and that starts tomorrow and it's from 8 to 6. And he's in we were weak and let her, or I was weak. But I will get pizza. That way you can.
I wish I had to order the car. Mine this morning.
Hello. A lot better. If I get hot,
I don't want to say
that's my worst thing, it does sting, No, I did have to get one treat. I treat my mom's. And, I didn't have to medicine, so. Six of us had it. Two of us were sick, and the other three had last week. So he was fine. Yeah. He just had it. He goes, I had immune, so I started really out. So that was a fun one, Thank you. Just call Sandra tonight or tomorrow. I enjoy talking to her.
I think it was 85.
I just called and check on her. Joanne Stanley, how you doing here? Good, I'm glad to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
I'd like put a little ice cream in my coffee. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember, but I had a coffee machine in Cup of Joe. I mean, an ice cream machine. So I would do a soft serve and then put a shot of espresso over it. It was called an affogato. Affogato, like, latte or cappuccino. And affogato in Italian means garroted. But it also means drowned. And that's what And that's what they're. Oh, that's delicious.
How you doing? Chris and Mitch and I've been together, and they dragged me along here. They said, come on, we're going to church. I went to church this morning. Every Sunday. What? Yeah. What was that?
Which church?
They're going to make
Down the wrong pipe.
He's been good.
He and Andy work together a lot.
Together and all of this.
How's the other half?
I was sick.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
You're fine. If you were still contagious, you mental health several months ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm in the clear.
She's the guy with quarantine. She's
Oh, I feel a lot better.
Hey, Jerry.
So I feel like I've got this. Well, I feel like I need to be busy.
She still has a cough. That's what's bothering me.
I just want to test it. I just, you know, and I'm a hugger. That's the sad thing. I'm a hugger and everything, so.
I am too.
Okay.
DARs, freeze across the
But, your son is.
I don't understand everything I know about it. Well, they took it.
We went to see my mom.
Oh, okay.
They dragged me
We
on.
go in a kayak.
I'll get out and push it for you.
I'm not all
I
that
heard you're
interested in that.
taking care of everything.
Anything here is not up to your standards. We're not going to give you your rights.
Would you
Oh, okay. All right.
You would?
Oh.
I think it'd be fun to float from Wilkes Lake, down around, I think that would be fun. I wouldn't say to the ocean. Oh.
Might do a
Sir, now present communication. Is this our now present communication? I just want to be with you now. No,
Depots. I learned to spell etiquette.
I really, I know everybody. Never can. Some remember coming up and hugging me. 50, you know.
Prophetic saying right there.
Nearly as big as it used
You already
to
have your
Okay.
cute little butt area.
Her phone was ringing. I was dancing.
Whatever it takes.
That is behaving.
I have the Harry Potter. I have never bought a ringtone, but I bought the Harry Potter ringtone.
Where's your lovely wife?
So,
Mr. Allen.
well, I think with me they are, but was another one
Allen's
that's fine.
with the pregnant wife.
Oh, yeah.
Her name
Yeah.
is
Tell me about
they're cute.
Teachers go in after the first week of August, but I drive a bus Monday through Thursday and deliver a bunch of books to kids in the county. It is a wonderful, and I call it a ministry, even though it's the rating system. But I do that, and then next week, what's his name? Terry Smith, the other PE teacher, just left to Williamsburg, and so I have to take a first day instructor. So I have to a couple days in Richmond learning how to teach it. So I could do it years ago. First day in CPR. I was certified years ago, but left right now.
How's your ice cream?
I just could do a class.
You know, I had made myself chocolate chip pancakes to take on the train. So I had frozen them when I didn't go on the train, so I ate them today for lunch. So I have too many sweets in me already. I think that's one of the things making me so sleepy.
Anybody want seconds? We got plenty to go here. Thank you, I made it myself.
I can see the sweat.
All right, let's call.
This morning? Oh yeah, nice.
Good morning, nice.
Oh, What do you want to get at Walmart
They're so smart.
today?
Where do they come
Change your
from?
mind?
It's just amazing. Nothing. Rewards the best.
Oh, right. Oh, I see, right. I don't think they would have had what you wanted anyway.
My daughter.
I don't think Walmart would have had the revenue. You know why? Because they want to sell their stuff cheaper. They would have had the plastic ones.
For campus school.
You know, Judy won't go to Walmart, as you know. And you know, there's so many other companies that are worse than Walmart. Can't
2 years.
Here, we don't have much. Yeah. Walmart during COVID, they do all my shopping and put it in my trunk for me.
Yes.
I order it online, curbside pickup.
Yeah.
It's not any more expensive. And Aunt Joanne, we like to go in and she wants to get her stuff. She likes to look at it. My sister's the same. But in the meantime,
Right side of me. Very happy.
what's your good ear?
Dr. Smith.
Oh, sorry. So, no, I'm going to go sit in the foyer there because I'm afraid I'll fall. I'm going to go sit in the foyer.
Really?
I'm afraid I'll fall asleep. I've been traveling for 36 hours, so I'm fine.
Goodness. Keep you awake.
Yeah, that's what her pain is for. She'll keep me
It's good. Keep you awake.
What I think it's, well, it turns out that they're going to post the whole talk on the church website. So we'll see what happens. But if I get up, I'm not trying to be rude.
Of course.
Then he perceived that he was
They have 49 empty cars there.
Where are you from?
Well, that's a good question.
Well, I think they.
Our farm is in northern Cumberland, but we grew up north.
Trophies.
And I've been living all over the country for the past 40 years or so.
Oh, okay.
20 years in Florida, a bunch of California.
Where is up north?
Nancy and I was up.
Where is up north?
Connecticut.
We paid for a lot of stuff ourselves.
I've never been to Connecticut.
Yeah, it's just like in the movies. Christmas in Connecticut.
Is that where you're from, Joey?
West Virginia.
Oh, yeah. We haven't had.
My mother's aunt, my late mom is Aunt Joanne's sister. Her big sister.
Same night as the Heart of Virginia Festival. Cancer Day. So I don't know when we're going to have our next one. We do our spaghetti is a good
Jennifer, you're so
You want to walk by each other?
Kelsey.
Bluebell. Bluebell. Made in Texas, I think it is. It's expensive, but it's good. Walmart. Food Lion, all of them.
Well, here is Kurt Smith going, the organist.
I usually do too. They have the Bluebell, and I buy the individual vanilla and chocolate. They sell at Bluebell. They have the vanilla and chocolate.
I think he was
That's
too.
why I buy it.
I just loved his playing. I loved his choice of music. Really miss it.
Oh, that Haagen-Dazs?
You know Janie
I've never bought it.
Janie I.
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah.
It goes on Saturday.
It looked like a pipe organ.
Oh, it looked like an organ?
Well, the whole cake wasn't that way.
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
she had part of
He
the
sits in
cake
the
sitting in the middle of the cake. That was the pipe organ.
How about
Be darned.
Wow, it was amazing.
that? Is that the piece of big cake you had?
Well, nobody's ever called
So you
on
had a big piece of cake. You did a piece of cake. I had chocolate chip pancakes.
About ready, John?
Then roll.
We're going to go ahead and roll.
How about that?
What's that?
I was trying to say attentively in Spanish.
Oh, atención.
Tienes atención.
Atención. All right, friends. As much as, well, hopefully, oh, hold on, calm down there. Don't get ahead of me. Come on. Can I pause it? You want me to pause? Anyway. As much as, maybe some of you thought, I'm just going to go out and get some ice cream. Well, that's not all right. We save the best for last. I know. Watch, everybody's going to say, bring back the ice cream. I was very blessed, extraordinarily blessed. About 5, 6 years ago, I got to go to Israel for 2 weeks. It was a pilgrimage. So the idea of being a pilgrimage versus a tour was that it wasn't just touristy stuff. They didn't just ship us to places we got to see this, and we got to see this, we got to see this. I mean, we did see the sights, okay? But we were slow and intentional about it. We were able to spend time in places. And I was with a group of other pastors. It was all pastors. And it was through a ministry called the Macedonian Ministries, which is out of Georgia. But their goal is to kind of help support and edify and nurture pastors to help them just, keep going, right? I know I make it look simple, but pastors sometimes struggle. I'm there too. So actually what happened was this program was a 3-year program, and then at the end we all went on this trip together to Israel. And essentially it didn't really cost us anything either. We stayed in some nice places, ate some good food. It was good. Anyway, so we started out in the Galilee area. Really, the trip was divided between the two sides. One was, we spent a week in Galilee and a week in Jerusalem with day trips, different places. We went to Masada, we went to Bethlehem, we went to different places like that. And this isn't even all of the beginning. I skipped the part when the very first thing we went to was on the coast. Herod's port that he built up there on the ocean is amazing. And we also stopped at Mount Carmel. Anybody know what happened to Mount Carmel? A certain guy named Elijah had a certain standoff against all the prophets of Baal, right, at Mount Carmel. Well, we actually went to Mount Carmel, and they have a big church. Well, it's a big church. It was a small church, but they have a big monument there and big Elijah and all this business. So we went to there too. We also went to Megiddo, Har Megiddo. You know what that is? Megiddo is a town on a hill overlooking this valley. And Har is that word for town. So the town of Megiddo is Har Megiddo. Well, what happens if you kind of mess that up in English? You end up with Armageddon. That's the combination of those words together is Armageddon. So that's in that Jewish, and it's not like folklore stuff, but that ends up kind of being where the end of the world, where like the last battle is going to be fought on that plain out there in front of this town. It's kind of a crossroads kind of town. That's kind of why that one was particular. But I skipped that part. We're going right to Galilee. When we were in Galilee, I wish there was a way I could pause that. I hadn't thought about that. Where am I? Go back to slideshow. This is the map. All right, obviously you've got, well, the lake of, all right, I'm going to have to do this the other way. Sorry, you don't get the black outline, you just get the white outline. But you have, the Gennesaret is basically the same as Galilee. Just a different name for the same place. We stayed at Tiberias. Now, if you're up on your Jewish philosophers, I'll take Jewish philosophers for 300. The name of one is Maimonides. You ever heard of Maimonides? Guess where he's from? Tiberias. Tiberias is also the capital of this, the Roman capital of this area at the time of Jesus. Okay? One of Herod's sons, Herod Antipas, is actually headquartered here in Tiberias. But we stayed here in Tiberias, and the places we're going to see are all along this coast. Now, I don't know, for us, when we look at a map, I think because we're American, maps, we kind of feel like there's more space, like there's more distance there. But if you look at the scale here, right, that's only 5, this whole area is only 5 miles. So you're looking, it's what, 10 miles between these places? That's really not very far. That's walkable, right? When you get down to it. So think about it. You have places, Magdala. Does that sound like anything you've heard before? Sure. A certain Mary Magdalene. Guess where she's from? Magdala, right? You have this place. Should be very familiar if you've done any time looking around in the life of Jesus in the New Testament, in the Gospels, Capernaum. Jesus spent a lot of time in Capernaum. And in fact, Peter, James, John, Andrew, these people are from this area. Bethsaida is another one that pops up. And actually, I'll tell you too, the other side of the Galilee, in Galilee is what, 8 miles across at its widest? But you can imagine if you're trying to sail across in a storm, it's kind of hard. It can be kind of hard. And the interesting thing about this area is because of the geography, you can get sort of sudden, violent storms. This side, modern day, Golan Heights. Back then, there's a certain story too about Jesus and a certain Gerasene demoniac. Remember the guy with Legion and the pigs and all that business? That's over here. So this area is just full of biblical stories. And the neat thing about it too, we're going to go to Mount Arbel. And there's a reason why Mount Arbel is singled out here. Really, it's the only mountain. All right? We're going to get back to that in a minute. If you were, where was Jesus from? Remember?
Yeah.
Nazareth. Nazareth is up here somewhere, out this way. So if you're going from Nazareth to Galilee, you're following the trail. There's an identified marked trail that takes you down to Galilee. There's only one way in, really. This will come up later. All right, this is where we stayed in Tiberias at the Scott's Hotel. No, it was not where Marvin's from. Could have been. I don't know.
Clear that.
But it was Presbyterian. I mean, it's Scottish. I mean, that's the whole point. And I don't know anything about the fact that they had a Scotch bar there. Apparently a pretty famous one. I had no knowledge of that whatsoever. But the Scott's Hotel was a great place and a very nice. You notice? Have you seen the brick, the stone work in that? It's actually not brick. It's actually stone. That dark stone. That's what's in that area. I've never seen stone quite like this, but it's all this. I don't know. Anybody a geologist? I don't know what kind of stone it is, but it's this really dark stone. You'll see it a lot. I don't know if you can see that. Do we want to cut the lights off?
Yeah.
Are you recording? Are you recording, John?
Yes.
That's better.
Can you see that better?
Yes.
You could see it better if I did the slideshow too. Pop a little more. Okay, this is breakfast. And I apologize, it's a little faster than I wanted to go because I kind of felt odd, like very touristy, trying to video breakfast in this hotel.
Busy.
That fella is also a pastor over in Prince George. He was my roommate. Now that is an orange juice machine. I'll tell you about that one in a minute.
Goodness gracious.
I guess you weren't home on quite the spread.
Oh.
Yeah. You wouldn't go away
I
home.
want to be on label.
You see the fish? You can eat your fish for breakfast. We're not done yet. There's the oatmeal and cereal section, the breads. That orange juice machine, though, was really kind of interesting. There's citruses everywhere over there. I mean, you'd have orange trees growing in the median. It was weird. I'm just not used to seeing that. Now, latitudinally, it's similar to like Georgia. So you get a sense of what what the climate is like over there, right? So you're going to get cold, but not a lot of cold, right? So I guess because of that, the citrus can grow a lot better. Anyway, but they just dump these oranges in the top of this machine. You put your cup under it, and you hit the button or whatever, and it just starts going. These oranges funnel down through the tubes, and the machine slices and squeezes them for you. So you literally get the fresh squeezed right there. And then it just spits the halves out. It was really good. It just seemed kind of wasteful though, but whatever. All right. So on the Sea of Galilee, this is Galilee. Of course, I got a couple different shots, different times of day. You can see how the weather is just so. That's a shot of Tiberias out from the view. The view isn't, the view's okay, but of course that's Hebrew at the top. What does that Hebrew say? Caution, spikes, no entry. What is a spike? This is a road where they're going to control traffic with this. There are your spikes.
Oh.
You drive the wrong way on this road, you're going to lose your tires. They're not playing around. Anybody know what that is? It is a tree. Olive tree. This is an olive tree. Now, olive trees, you ever heard of an olive tree in the Bible or anything olive-like? Of course, they're everywhere. Olive trees, well, let me go to the next one. We get a little closer. Look at this trunk. These things are fascinating. It's full of holes. But you can see it's not dead. It's becoming hollow. In the middle of the tree. You're getting new growth. It was crazy. I love the olive trees. They're a trip. But you got to be. They can have problems too, because after they get to be so old, they kind of just fall apart, and they just start growing. They're weird. I have pictures from the Mount of Olives where these trees, they're actually propping up. They're trying to keep the trees from just falling over. But they're green. They're still growing. They're accommodating the trees. You see that? This restaurant or bar, whatever it was, the tree growing right out. Another shot right out the window. Now, the nice thing about going to the Scott's Hotel was they had next door their own chapel. No fibbing. They have a chaplain whose job is to service, and he's a Presbyterian minister. This is my retirement job. We're going to go move to the Scott's Hotel and service this chapel because Church of Scotland says that you can see St. Andrew's Church, Church of Scotland, and a telephone number in case you want to call. But Church of Scotland, what's Church of Scotland? Presbyterian. It's the same thing. The national church, the official church in Scotland is Presbyterian. And you get a lot of mosaics, that mosaic work. This is this chapel. That was a shot. That's their communion table in there. I kind of like that shot. You see a lot of these, and you'll notice sometimes you'll see me wearing this symbol with a cross. It's got equal arms and then 4 little crosses in the middle. That's a Jerusalem cross. And that cross represents the 4 corners of the world, basically. It's like a universal kind of cross. It's a Roman cross with the 4 in there, and it's, like I said, it's a Jerusalem cross is what it's called. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go out on the Sea of Galilee. And I'll show you kind of where we're going, different places. We're going to go to visit Capernaum. We're going to visit the place where Jesus and Peter talk after he's resurrected. We're going to go visit the place where Jesus fed the 5,000. We're going to go to where Jesus did the Sermon on the Mount. And we're going to go to that mountain area, that Mount Arbel at that pass. And we'll briefly stop at a museum. All right? So we're going to get on our boat. And now we're out on the boat. There's the Sea of Galilee from out in the middle. We have friends. Of course, if anybody's got a question, feel free to stop. Right? Just holler out. Remember Mount Arbel that I was telling you about? That's this one. Down here is the museum we're going to. We're going to go there first. Actually, both of these are really your mountains, these two. And they're called the Doves. But that path I was telling you about goes right down at the bottom between those two. But that museum, we're going to go to that museum for a moment because we need to see something that they found in the Sea of Galilee that dates back to the time of Jesus. A fishing boat. When Jesus got in the boat, guess what it looked like?
I
Pretty much like that. Now, yeah, it looked a little better, but this thing was basically fossilized in the mud. So they found it. It was preserved. I mean, this boat's thousands of years old, and it's still in one piece. So they were able to bring out, we got to see the process and all that, the great, it was a big engineering feat just to get it out in one piece. Of course, but now here it is. But you can see how the basic design is. And, I don't know, how many of you would want to go out in the fishing boat? Clyde, you going to fish in that one? It's more of a glorified canoe. So you think about when Jesus was going across the water, the disciples, it's not like the boat we were on, which is kind of what we think of more as a boat. Another shot of Arbel, because we're going to go up where? We're going to go up to Arbel. Why am I going up to Arbel? Then that's a shot. You can see Arbel in the back here too. I like that shot. All right, we're going to go up to Arbel. We went up there. This is from the other side, of course. When we went up there happened to be a double rainbow. You can see the second one's over here.
How did you get up
How'd
there?
you get there? You were on a boat.
How did you get to the top?
No, we were on a bus that time.
A bus, because you don't see any roads.
No, but there is a road coming up on the backside.
Oh, on the backside, okay.
Some nice shots from up there on top of the mountain.
Wait for the great flood.
A lot of green. You see all that green? I guess sometimes we think of Israel as being dry and arid and desert-like. There is a lot of green there. They have no problem growing things. There's pastures. You have livestock. I think that's actually Magdala. I was talking about where Mary Magdalene is from. All the places that we're going to, kind of right along here. This is that, that part, if you remember the Sea of Galilee, how it kind of bulged down on one side? This is that bulge. Yep, they have no problem growing things.
What is that? What are those?
I have no idea. They had bananas, they had, like I said, citrus.
Marijuana.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's a lot of different kinds of things. Obviously, there's a bunch of different kinds of trees. Another shot.
Is that an old tree?
I didn't take that picture.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be amazing? From up on top of the mountain, you can still see, those are mountains, obviously. And like I said, this time of the year, it was January, February, so you have snow on these mountains. And the actual mountain where Jesus was at Caesarea Philippi, when Jesus asked Peter, who do people say that I am? And he says, you're the Christ. He says, on you, I'm going to build, you're my rock, and I'm going to build my church. I'm not going to get into what that actually means. But the point is, he's talking about the gates of hell will not prevail against you. Well, where they actually were was in a place called the gates of hell. And there was like a temple there, a pagan temple, and we actually went there. I have pictures of that too. But it's up there. That's up that way. There are all these springs that feed into the Sea of Galilee, which then goes down to the Jordan River. The Jordan River then connects down to the Dead Sea. So you got the Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, down to the Dead Sea. Another shot from up there. Very nice, very pretty. We have Had some nice time up there. Okay, so we're back out on the ocean, or on the sea. And we are going to go beautiful areas. That's to the south. Now we're going to start going to some more places. Okay, this is Capernaum. Right in here. This area is Capernaum. So we're going to go visit where the disciples were from, where Jesus hung out a lot. But before we get there, we're going to stop at Tagba. Tagba is a church where Jesus fed the 5,000. Now, honestly, when you go to a place, when you go to these, I don't want to say touristy places, but when you go to a destination like this, you're like, oh yeah, this happened here. This happened here. Now, nobody really knows exactly where it happened. But that is where pilgrims have been going for hundreds of years to remember what happened in that area. But the thing I like about Galilee is that Jesus really did walk. You know, maybe it wasn't exactly at this spot. But yeah, Jesus really was there. We know that he was there. In Jerusalem, it's a little more, it's a little different in Jerusalem. But in Galilee, you know, there's only so many ways in, there's so many paths, there's so, you know, the town that is Capernaum. But before we get there, like I say, Tagba, do you know what this is? It is. It's an olive press. You got your olives in here. The stone is going to roll around and squish them. Okay? You have a donkey or something on the outside that's pulling the stone around, and it's squishing the olives. You know that story where Jesus says, if you prevent the little ones from coming to me, you'd be better off putting a millstone around your neck than being thrown into the sea? Remember that? You know what that stone looks like? That was our tour guide, by the way. This fellow, very nice. All the working people over there while we were there actually were Palestinian. He's Palestinian.
So that's olive juice.
What's that?
That's olive juice?
No, that's just water. They don't use it today for olives. It's just for just to show what it looked like. Yeah, that was just water that's collected there from the rain. Here's the church. Another shot of the church. Let's go in the church. And right here, this is where we're going. That spot under the table. Maybe that's called an altar. I don't know what they call it there. But you notice, you see this? The fish. See fish? Basket of bread. So that's where the feeding, that's where they say the actual feeding of the 5,000 took place, at that very spot. So another shot of the church. There's people out there praying at this church. Do you see what's behind them? Another olive tree.
Is that stones?
All right. That's actually a Christian church. And this is where we're going next. So I told you we're going to go to Capernaum. And we are going to Capernaum, which is what this is in front. I kind of like that shot, though. I like the church back there. So, as I mentioned, that's Capernaum. So, here we are, the town of Jesus. Well, I don't know if it was the town of Jesus, but certainly it's where he hung out a lot. Again, you got that black rock, right? The architecture. A lot of ruins. Now, Jesus did go to the synagogue in Capernaum, right? We have the synagogue. There's the synagogue. A lot of excavation and stuff going on there, Capernaum. As I mentioned, that's where Peter and the fishermen, that's where they're from. Here's a shot inside the synagogue. There's the other side where, the bench where everybody could sit. Well, I guess the men sat, I don't know. Now, synagogues, back then, the interesting thing about synagogues, they weren't just churches. The word synagogue actually is a Greek word. It means to be led together. It's where people gathered and it basically functioned kind of like a civic center in a town. It's where you did have church, you'd have worship, but you also could have official meetings, town activities, things like that, where if there was, if you needed everybody to come together and hear what's going on, and, you'd go to the synagogue. It was kind of the central place of activity. From outside, looking over a little bit. Now, of course, you have the ruins here. This is a church. I know it looks like one. Kind of looks like a flying saucer. But that is supposedly right over where Peter's mother, was it mother or mother-in-law? I forget. I know at the beginning of Mark's gospel, right after Peter and the others kind of sign on to Jesus, they go to, I think it's his mother-in-law's house, where she is sick. And Jesus goes in and heals her. And then the text is horrible. Jesus comes in and he heals her, and then she gets up and starts serving them. It's like the woman was just horribly sick, and then she's got to get up and start working. But that's the way the story is written. Anyway, but supposedly her house was right there under that church, right there. Wouldn't you like to live there? Another shot. That's from up in the church, looking down. You see a lot of this different places. There's actually, if we ever want to get to where Mary lived, there's a church over top of where Mary lived, and you can see down into that house, and there's all that. It's really neat. There's a big church over that. Some neat garden areas were around. Some very large plants growing around. You see that, right? The people right next to the plant? That's a monster. That's like Little Shop of Horrors. It's going to eat somebody. Another shot from outside with the church there. That's inside. And of course, while we're there, we're doing these devotional things, and that little dog decided to come up and hang out with us. Now, we're headed, let's see, there's that Christian church. Let's go, okay. We're going back down. We're going to break it up a little bit. We're going to go to the path that runs down between the two mountains. And like I said, the other part I wanted to make a point of, Arbel, when it says Jesus went on the mountain to pray, when he went up to the mountain to pray, like I said, we figure it must have been Arbel. It's the biggest, it's the only real mountain thing there, right? I mean, the one next to it is a mount, sort of, but it's not nearly as mountainous. It's Mount Arbel would be the best place to go. You get the best view. You can imagine wanting to go up there and just see the beauty of the area from up there while you're praying and meditating. But down at the bottom is this path that runs back to Nazareth. So Jesus did that path, right? He would have done that path. That path today is kind of a pilgrimage route in itself. You can go there and walk the path and stay in places. I don't know if hotels or, they're places you can stay, maybe inns, like bed and breakfast or something, I don't know. Along the way, you can walk this path, 20 miles or something, and it's kind of a holy experience for people. But it's called the Gospel Way. And here's a marker for it. The Gospel Trail, sorry. Can you read that there?
Yes.
The Gospel Trail. That's what it says in the blue right there. So you get a picture of what the trail looks like. It's down at the bottom of these mountains. A lot of cactus over there. And an important thing for cactus is in a place where fencing might be hard to come by. You know what you could always use for fencing? Cactus. And of course, there's interesting flowers over there too. We're down there on the trail having a little devotional time. That was our group right there. We were with a group of pastors from Florida. All right, now we're moving back out onto the water, and our next stop is, it's called the Primacy of Peter. I just really thought about that. That really kind of sounds like it's egotistical of me or something. That's not why I'm drawn to these places. It's nothing to do with me. The fact that Peter and I happen to share the same name, that's just a coincidence. But this church is where we're going. There's the outside. Again, it's this black rock that's so common there. If you were Catholic, anybody here used to be Catholic? Okay. All right, now it's all on you, Jenny. You're the only person brave enough to raise your hand. No, but if you were Catholic and you were tracing back, not going to the Antichrist, but if you were tracing back the popes, right? If you wanted to trace back the popes, and there was actually a sign there that did this at this spot. Do you know who the very first one would be? Peter, yes. He wasn't a pope, but he would have been, they would have considered him the first one. Because like I said, he was the rock upon whom the church was built, right? So he functions as the first Peter, as the first pope, Peter. So, in fact, that's what that says right here. It's the church of the primacy of St. Peter. So, this is where the spot, but like I said, I mean, it's not like there's a lot of options, but this is a spot where they say that after Jesus came back, we know what Peter and the others were doing. They were out fishing. They didn't know what to do. Jesus was gone, right? That Sunday that Jesus came back, they were out fishing. And he shows up on the shore. Remember the story? It's in John's Gospel toward the end. Peter kind of flips out, jumps out of the boat, and tries to swim in. Of course, everybody else just sails back. Anyway, but that's the conversation that Peter and Jesus have about, Peter says, or Jesus says, "Do you love me?" Right? And he says, "Of course I love you." He said, "Well then, feed my sheep." It's that story where 3 times he has to say, "Yes, I love you. You know I love you." And then he keeps saying, "Well, take care of my lambs, feed my sheep, tend to the sheep." Right? That's where this is happening. So that's where Jesus is commissioning Peter to care for the church. You with me? So let's go inside. We'll go inside. Inside that church. Any Latin scholars? Mensa Christi, Table of Christ. Maybe I don't know why we didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but that might have been where they said, because Jesus apparently had fish. He was cooking fish for them. And maybe that's where they were eating. I don't know. That's outside on the Sea of Galilee. You see, there's that rock, though. I mean, it's all over the place. Just the shore is just blanketed with this black rock. There was actually a guy out there fishing while we were standing there having a nice devotion, which would have been a cool picture, but I didn't take that. Actually, all right, I did take a very little rock from that shore right there. I brought it home. That's not all I took. But that's a picture of Peter. That's a statue of Peter. How do you know it's Peter? Because he's holding a key. I don't know if you can see it there, but he's got a big key. He's got a fish here. You know he's a fisherman, so you know it's Peter. Also, Peter, oftentimes in religious art, has a beard. He got this big beard. But if you see somebody, an apostle, with a key, that's Peter. There are things, there are trees that we just don't have over here. Not that I know of. All right, now we're going over to the Sermon on the Mount. But you can see we were just here, just up the hill is where we're going. That's where they say Jesus did the Sermon on the Mount, which isn't really a mount, but it's elevated a little bit. Another shot of the same thing, you can get a sense of that, how far they're not, it's not like Jesus was traveling all over the place. He was in one area. All right, so we're up to the Church of the Beatitudes, and you know what you can't do there? No dogs, no shorts, no talking, no martinis. It is a martini glass. No guns and no smoking. That's inside the church.
Well, what was that on the upper right?
The upper right's no talking.
Oh, it doesn't have a slash.
It's a finger over the lips.
I couldn't see that. Okay.
Finger over the lips.
Thank you.
Or it's saying you can only give one kiss. Inside the church.
Wow. That's gotta be good.
There's the dome. It is pretty. It's a pretty dome.
Beautiful.
That's outside the church. Now, what they had around this church was all the Beatitudes and other sayings. It's like they each had its own little garden area. So let anyone who is thirsty come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as Scripture says, rivers of living water flow from within. Of course, then it says, water not for drink. So living water, but don't drink it. Anyway. There's the water you're not supposed to drink. Looking down to the Sea of Galilee from up there. A couple shots. When we walked down from that place, I guess it had just rained not too long ago, but that trail was the worst mud in the world. It caked on your shoes. And it was like by the time you got down there, it was inches thick on the bottom of your shoes. It was crazy stuff, but we made it down to the bottom. And then we had to hose our shoes off. You'd think, here we are. We've never seen mud before. Some other shots of the Sea of Galilee. There's the other side. I was telling you about the Golan Heights. There's another shot of the sea from Tiberias. The moon over the Sea of Galilee. I got one in black and white. Does it work in black and white? And McDonald's. Because you got to end up at McDonald's, right? We have to end on a light note. Of course, Hebrew is right to left. So the writing is backwards. So it's right to left. The other thing that really cracked me up about this McDonald's is even the drive-through. McDrive. It's Mech everything except, we don't call it a McDrive-through. Apparently they do. That you're driving. And that wraps it up. There you go. Now you've been to Galilee. Questions?
At the McDonald's picture, go back to that one.
Back to McDonald's.
those apartments in the,
Not at all.
okay. What is
I
that?
don't think so.
Did y'all go in there?
No. No, it was just next door to where we were eating. I just thought it was funny. I wanted to take a picture of it.
It must have been another old building that they did something.
It could have been. I mean, I guess it's possible that. I mean, it's not a traditional shape, but you figure it had to have some kind of a shape in order to be able to have a drive-through. I mean, it could be that maybe whoever owned it did live upstairs. I don't know, but it is an odd shape for McDonald's. Of course, McDonald's. Not to go off McDonald's, but different places have very different McDonald's. If you've been to the second largest McDonald's in the world, as I have, that was in Italy, you start out, it's got a whole ice cream parlor. When you walk in, that's all it is, an ice cream parlor. Then you go down this hall, long hall with archaeological stuff, all these things built in, and you get down to the main room, and it's got multiple levels. You got a massive salad bar with like seafood on it and all this kind of stuff. And there's like 20 plate cash registers where you can buy your stuff, and it's just massive. It was the largest McDonald's in the world until Moscow. Apparently they built one, but I haven't been to that one.
In Rome, I asked for ketchup, and the guy pointed upstairs. And I went upstairs, and it was all bathrooms.
Little did Jerry know that ketchup is the secret Italian word for gotta go to the restroom.
Well, is the food the same?
Yes.
I mean,
Well, I mean, yeah, but like I said, you could get seafood. They had like lobster and crab on the salad.
yeah, but I mean, they still sell.
Oh yeah, these regular burgers and
yeah,
things. Yeah.
French fries and.
Yeah, that part is that's universal, I think.
They're at $8 to $12 for a hamburger.
Whoa.
Anyway, any questions about Galilee? Like I said, I got loads more pictures.
Picture indicated that it was in the same weather and so
Yes.
forth as Georgia.
Comparable to Georgia.
Which Georgia?
The U.S. Yes, the state of Georgia. Not, are you talking about like in Russia or the USSR? Former USSR? No, it is the same as our Russia, our Georgia. Our Georgia. Yes.
My question was, you talking about the Sea of Galilee, is that the same thing as the Lake of Gennesaret?
It is.
It's what?
Same thing.
Same body of water?
Yes.
What was his question? What was the question?
He wanted to know if the Lake of Gennesaret was the same as the Sea of Galilee.
Oh.
It is the same. It's the same name. I think what they're saying. I think it used to be called, like the locals didn't call it the Sea of Galilee. I think the locals used to call it Gennesaret because you notice there's actually a place called Gennesaret, a village there, and I think the name of the body of water was tied to the name of that place. I think it was an old fishing village there, and so they called it the Lake of Gennesaret. But somehow over the years, we have just come to understand it as the Sea of Galilee.
Must be fed by that river that comes down and goes up the back.
Well, like I said, you have there are a bunch of different feeder streams from up north, and they do. And then, like I said, it comes into here, and then this is the Jordan River.
But the upper right of that is now Syria, right?
I think it is,
Yeah, right.
but I could not swear to it.
Where's the goal line on that?
Would have been right here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's southwest.
What was the question,
Syria.
He wants to know if this is Syria, up this way.
Nowadays, yeah.
Modern day Syria. Jordan is right here. We crossed into Jordan to visit that mountain that I was talking about earlier, that mountain area up here. Somewhere up here. I know we got a little nervous because there are signs like, you're leaving Israel. And it was difficult in some respects.
You sure that's Jordan, not Lebanon?
Well, now that you ask me, no.
Lebanon's north, Jordan is sort of southeast, I think.
I'd have to look at that.
I have to look at the map myself.
But you know, you've heard about that wall that Israel built probably between them and the Palestinian area. And it's horrible. I mean, it really is. You get these weird little turnstile gates that you have to come through, and these people, I mean, there are a lot of Palestinians that work in Israel every day, and every day they got to come through these checkpoints and all of these, and they got, you know, barbed wire everywhere, and it's just, it's horrible. But if you try to take a picture of it, you know, because those of us with cameras, we're kind of really tempted to take pictures of things. But if they see you taking a picture of it, guess what? They will come on your bus. You know, yeah, they'll stop your bus and come get you. So you have to be really careful. It's sneaky.
So who is it that doesn't want you to take a picture?
The Israelis. They don't want you taking a picture of their wall.
I got another question.
Yes.
So those buildings that you all go in, they're set aside just for people to look at, right? They're not functioning in any way other than, say, like a tourist spot or.
You know, I don't know if they have services there or not. To be honest, that is a really good question. I did not get a sense that they were functioning. At least not on an every weekly kind of thing. Maybe they do special services there, but clearly they could. That's a good. Now, when you get down, and part of that might just be because it's Galilee. When you get down to Jerusalem, hey, yeah, they're doing stuff in those churches. They're using the churches, like the one like that's over where Mary lived. You know, when Gabriel came and announced that she was going to bear Jesus, there's a massive church over that one, or in Bethlehem over where Jesus was born. You know, that's another one. That's you can tell those are used churches.
We looked at Catholic. The one that you said was Catholic. Did you tell us the one with the slide that you showed it was a dark stone building? Said something.
The primacy of Peter. Yeah, that one, I mean, I guess, I don't know if they used that one or not, because it was a tiny little chapel. But the point was the Catholic Church uses that spot as where Peter kind of becomes the Pope, the very first Pope. Even though they didn't call, I mean, they didn't. That's not in the Bible. It's not something that, you know. But the Catholic Church looks at him as the very first Pope, and starts the line as those, you know, people who are taking care of the church. Because Peter is what Jesus is charging Peter with: take care of the church. Good questions. Anything else? Any random questions? You can ask me whatever. How many dimples on a golf ball?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your travels with us. I think we all have a better understanding now, which is a great thing. I'd like to thank John for his AP skills there, and we really appreciate that. We appreciate Jerry and Cherie for all they've done to make this possible. But most important, thank you guys for coming out today. I think this has been our first kind of social activity like this. I think we had the installation course reception. It was the first time we have had program. So
yep.
Thanks to everyone for venturing out to say.
I think you're right. I think this is the first one.
That's true.